We all know about the different categories of tea, which is like the black, green, white tea, oolong teas, right? Pu'er tea is the one that's always like named last, but it's actually, in reality, the origins of all tea. With ayahuasca, your vision changes, your mind changes, you start seeing things. It's really weird.
The show is called The Altered Perception, so it alters your perception in a way, right?
I think my favorite stories with this business is it's not just the people that I get to meet, but that other people have met each other because of the context of Miro. Because I think that's one of the greatest privileges being alive in this existence is to be able to connect with other people. I'm very conscientious of like not letting AI write my email because I don't ever want somebody to feel like I wrote them a fake email. I still want it to sound like a human, coming from me. I think people will become more and more sensitive and perceptive of like what's fake and what's real.
Do you think that AI can just free us from our own like daily duties that we are doing and focus on these bigger tasks like, just understanding consciousness? Hello. What's happening, folks? Thanks a lot for tuning in to the Altered Perception Show. This is episode 30. And I'm super excited for this one because if you guys don't remember, we had our first guest on the show, Jeannie Liu, and she is back again on episode 30. I'm super excited. The first episode was a blast and you guys loved it so much that, of course, we had to have Jeannie again. The messages that you have shared, Jeannie, was incredible, and I'm really happy that we are doing this again. I was super excited. We have been talking this for like more than a year now, so thanks a lot for coming to the show again.
Absolutely, it's always so nice to talk to you, GB. And I forgot that I was the first one. I was telling everybody I was the second one, maybe, but I didn't know it was the first one. That's super cool. Yeah,
I think it was a conversation that we had like. Few weeks back before recording the first episode.
Yeah.
And then we were sitting down and I was like, Jeannie, I think, and we were talking about like some deep conversation. I was like, Jeannie, I don't want to regret like 10 years later and realize that I don't want to do, I wanted to do like podcasting for so long. Then I don't want to record, regret it later that, I couldn't do it. Or I was like, man, I was just like, slacking or wanted to like, because I didn't have the resources back then, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm learning and I'm gaining resources, but back then I was like, I don't know how to do this and it's going to be hard. But we had a conversation and I was like, you know what, I think let's just do it.
That's right.
The power of execution, right?
Yeah, just do it. So figure it out. That's like the universe will, like, you will figure it out. This is something that you really love. Like as we all do, we work on something long enough and then like bit by bit we'll change it, So the important thing is it's done. Right?
Yeah, it's done, yeah.
I'm so glad you did it.
Yeah, no.
30, yes, congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, we had like a lot more guests, but the recordings or the recordings are still in process of video editing.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. You're putting in your reps. That's what they're saying, right?
Trying my best. I'm learning from the best, right?
What? Yeah. I have yet to do a podcast for myself, but like that's this whole setup and stuff is. Yeah. I'm always so impressed.
And the reason why I said learning from the best is because the first episode we talked about trusting your intuition, your gut, right?
Yeah.
That was that gut calling, right? Okay, you got to do this.
Absolutely.
So we are sitting in your café, Miro Tea. We talked about a lot about the Miro Tea. And for you guys listeners, if you have not checked out Jeannie's episode that we have done on the first episode, I would strongly recommend. It's almost like a precursor to this, because we have covered so much of your story, the background and like how you got started with Miro Tea. And today we're going to take another step. You have at the cafe more than 150 different types of teas, and we have some teas over here too. We're gonna try it out, but let's talk about it. Like, how do you even get the teas? And I know that you have the teas from different parts of the world. Like, how did you had that vision of like, okay, I gotta grab teas and also more than so many different types of teas?
I mean, I think so for two reasons. One, I'm a bit of a eclectic tea drinker. I don't abide by like drinking just one type of tea just because of my personality, who I am. I enjoy teas from all over the world. I'm Chinese, but I was born in South Korea and raised in the U.S. with Taiwanese citizenship and like and visiting there a lot, and like I have just this kind of like very multicultural background myself, and I think people like us who are multicultural, I think have this kind of perspective and appreciation for a lot of diversity, you know, in what we incorporate in our day to day and like and in our lives. And so I've always drunk tea from all over the world, and so the diversity of teas that we carry is a reflection of my own personal preferences, honestly. But then also we live in the U.S. and the U.S. is a diverse country, and where tea drinking culture encompasses, you know, areas of Southeast Asia, South Asia, East Asia, you know, like parts of Africa, parts of, you know, Eastern Europe, and, you know, even Latin America. And so those are all countries that we have, you know, like the cultures that we like proudly have in our own country in the U.S. that makes us the U.S., you know, as great as we are. And so the tea traditions, we also draw from all of those countries as well. And so our tea menu reflects all of those tea traditions and the origins where all those people are from. And you know, if you were to go to a country like China or Japan or such, if you ask people for tea, it's going to be, you know, Chinese tea or Japanese tea, because culturally that's what they grew up with and what they know. But in the U.S., we have such a diverse group of people here. When somebody comes to our shop and goes, I just want tea, you know, we still have to reflect on what they believe is what tea is. And we want to be able to embrace all of that and reflect that in our menu.
Yeah. And see, that's so beautiful, because you're totally right about that. Like, I'm from India, and like all we have drank is Indian tea, like, you know, Darjeeling tea or whatever you want to call it. Like, we were just exposed to one or two different types of tea, maybe like green tea, but that was also just like green tea.
Yes.
We didn't know that there's green tea from Japan, there's green tea from China, there's green tea from different parts of the world. And I was like, okay, well, and so when I you know, came to the cafe, and you know, I saw like, okay, I need the green tea, and then the person on you know, asking me was like, okay, well, what type of green tea do you want? You know, I was like, okay, well, what type of green teas do you have? So, you know, that just starts like more like you can go deeper into not just the tea but the actual culture.
Totally.
Because, you know, there was a time when I got into like the Japanese green tea. Like, there's so many really good teas like sencha, kukicha, you know.
Oh yeah, you've gone through the whole menu.
Yeah, I've gone through the whole menu.
You try all of them.
Yeah, and like, you know, from there I was like, you know what, I want to travel to Japan. And like, and I want to see like different types of tea, and not just the tea, but different type of culture. Because like, you're right about like, we are in the US, and we are so blessed to kind of, you know, explore different parts of the culture without even going to their countries. You know, you can talk to people, you have talked to so many different types of people from different countries, right? And we're also going to talk about like how you have visited so many different countries, right? So it's just like exposes your brain to like much more wider angle. And, you know, the show is called The Altered Perception. So it alters your perception in a way, right? So let's talk about like, you have traveled all over the world at this point. Like, if we were to just stick with like tea, like, you have any like a particular tea story that you want to share with the audience, or in general, like traveling all over the world, a story that you can think of?
I guess what I can say that there's a lot of diversity in the way when you travel to Taiwan, or you travel to Colombia, or you travel to India, you travel to Japan, the tea farms are all, and the way you do business with these tea farmers, or how you interact, or how you get access to tea, are all very, very different from each other. And happy to talk about like kind of the differences, you know, in all of them. And like what really struck me has been like, I think that's the thing that like is surprised me over and over again, is that there's this kind of like through line that goes through around that has shown up in every single tea producer, tea seller, tea vendor, anybody who's in like associated kind of in that kind of early stages of like tea production, or, you know, in the tea industry. There's this kind of like a spirit and a congeniality of how they do business and how they interact and how they welcome people. That is like across the board exactly the same, and that's been the most fascinating thing for me.
Yeah.
Beyond Miro, I've actually been in small business like before that, and had been in business ultimately much longer than just opening this business. And
I mean, you have opened up the first bubble tea store in Seattle, right?
Third.
Third. Top three.
Third. But it was like 20-something. That was like 25 years ago. Yeah, but
and that time nobody knew about the bubble tea in America.
No, it was very, very new. But what I noticed is that, in all these other industries, like there's a lot of kind of like, variety of personalities and like kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say good and bad, but in simple terms, I would say like good and bad or whatever to like kind of watch out for and kind of navigate and as a business owner and how to like, who you deal with and how you deal with people. But for whatever reason, and I think it's beautiful, it's the most beautiful thing I love about traveling and meeting new tea people in the whole world, is that every single one of them have been so open, so sacrificial in their like what they're willing to like where they live in order to produce these teas that they sell, how they welcome people into their doors, to their farm, to their homes, to drink tea and explore the appreciation that they have for their products.
So you don't directly deal with almost like a middleman. You're directly dealing with the farmers.
Honestly, like it depends, but my like degree of association, or my degree of like contact with the tea is like either one, which is directly to the farmer, or like one off, because it's kind of impossible with a menu of like 150 teas to be doing that for every single one of them, and so realistically, like, I'm going to be dealing with direct farmers for like a large portion of my single origin stuff. And then there's not like a middle person for like some of our blended stuff. And so like, there has to be a blender, for certain products.
Yeah. You cannot just rely on one source.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, but it's always like just 2 degrees at most. It's not like 3, 4, 5. So, and then we oftentimes end up becoming like kind of wholesaling. Yeah. Because of like this kind of very much more closer relationship that we have with the source. So we then like are able to have that more closer relationship to our customers or clients, who are typically restaurants and coffee shops who would like buy.
So let me ask you like a blunt question. I mean, the Trump's tariff just ruled in. How is the tariffs affecting your business with these local farmers of teas and all?
It really depends on the country. I don't buy in like huge quantities, like if I'm buying, so what we sell is specialty tea. And so specialty tea is produced in much smaller quantities than like a commodity tea, which are produced in like the tons and tons. And so the specialty teas are all handmade typically, and very minimal machine usage. And so with the specialty teas, you're going to have very small lots that are being produced by the farmers. And so I'm buying like, maybe like 20 kilos at a time for the single origin teas. And then the larger ones that are like blended typically are like, we like blend here in the US, or like where I have it blended in here in the US. And so I'm not dealing with the tariffs from that kind of relationship at all. But those smaller origin ones from like whatever, Taiwan, Japan and such, it really differs from the country to country.
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest with you, like I haven't been tariffed consistently. I've been tariffed by Japanese producers, but then not by others, but yet I've like, so it's like I don't know what's actually going on with the tariffs and what's happening in the border situation or the customs situation. Or sometimes they're like the seller will take care of the tariff, and I don't even know how that works, but they'll just do that, and so I don't get tariffed. So it's a bit confusing for me, but I think because I'm a smaller importer, it's like they don't ding us as much.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, well, we have a lot of things to talk about, but let's start with the tea. What tea you have got for us, and if you can provide some history, and we can even make it go on.
Yeah, for sure. I know you were interested in pu'er and like, which is like I was really happy to hear that because it's a category of tea that is not super well known in the US still, even though it had a massive boom in like China. It was actually, a lot of people were using it as kind of like a futures investment kind of a thing where people were buying up pu'er in China because this is a tea that has been aged and the longer the aging, the more coveted it is. So because of that, and the kind of the increasing value that it has based on age, people had started buying them in order to like gain, kind of like invest in it, right? And then to like resell it over time and such, right? I think some of that boom has busted a little bit, but pu'er still remains to be a very beloved tea amongst longtime tea drinkers.
So let's talk about it. You said it's a aged tea, so
Yes.
I'm assuming there's like fermentation going on. So can you talk about the actual origination of where the pu'er tea originated from and how they were making it back then?
Totally. So we all know about the different categories of tea, which is like the black, green. These are the two most well-known ones. Then you have white tea, oolong teas, right? Pu'er tea is the one that's always like named last, but it's actually in reality the origins of all tea. So tea all comes from technically pu'er because tea originally all came from this area of China called Yunnan, China. It's a province in China, which is in Western China. And the tea plants there are very, very old, and they have been harvested and cared for a very long time. And they believe that that's where kind of the true like discovery of tea started, was from there. And what makes pu'er that's different from other tea is that pu'er goes through a fermentation, but that fermentation is not really true fermentation. It's not like true fermentation is when like enzymes and bacteria turn into like ferments into like an alcohol or something, like alcohol is produced in some way, and sugars are being like changed over to some form of like, bacteria of alcohol. But pu'er doesn't ferment in that way. But there is, but through the processing of it, it goes through is that final step where you're supposed to dry the tea. Pu'er doesn't get dried fully like black tea, green tea, or other teas do. So there's still kind of like a higher percentage residual of water that gets retained in the tea. Mm-hmm. And because of that kind of just slightly more damp ness of the tea, that water interacts with the natural enzymes of the tea plant itself. The tea plants that are used for pu'er in Yunnan are typically Asamaka plants, and Asamaka, those plants typically are just much more like robust and rich and dense in flavor, and can be quite bitter, and that's why it's typically used for black tea production. But made as a pu'er, that richness and tannins, and that interacts with the water. So the enzymes, the tannins, and all that stuff interacts with the water over time, very slowly. That aging process that I mentioned does a very kind of slow, controlled changeover of those cells, which then becomes into like almost like a prebiotic is what it really becomes, versus a probiotic. I know like pu'er is often drunk for digestive purposes in China, especially by older generations, and so that helps aid them in like a kind of a slow gut.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah,
it like slows the aging process of the cells.
It helps you digest the kind of like fatty acids and such like that like, especially in parts like Yunnan where their diet is not, there's a lot of vegetation, but there are cultures there that don't eat a lot of vegetation. Like there's like nomadic cultures, or there's like farmers who are raising yaks and such, in kind of like more drier terrain and such. They often drink pu'er tea to help with the digestion of high protein diets,
yeah.
And so does that make sense? So it's like more of
like a lot of like fatty meats.
Yes, so it's like an enzymatic like prebiotic to aid digestion for when you're eating heavier meals. You know, typically, traditionally, like dim sum restaurants would serve pu'er teas.
Oh, really?
Primarily because of like that's a really nice pairing.
Balance.
Yeah, it's a really great balance of like the heavier, like kind of the, fattiness of like a dim sum, right? And then like you have the pu'er that helps cut that.
That's fascinating. It's just interesting to kind of see like the whole the evolution of matcha, and not just that, the popularity among so many different people who are very health conscious. And let's hope that there is enough matchas and different types of green teas that can satisfy a lot of people because the demand is so much. I do also want to touch on, now you have opened for more than 18 years, and Miro Tea has gained so much popularity in the last like 5 to 10 years, and you have met so many people. Let's talk about that. Like, you have had like so many interesting conversations with people. Some people have also even showed you different parts of the world and different things. Do you have any stories that you have connected with people? Because I think you have the personality of like almost saying yes to opportunities. So you want to talk more on like just connecting to people through with the help of tea and your cafe, and how that has helped you?
So connecting with people that I've met from the shop and how that's helped me. I mean, that's a great question, but it's so encompassing. It's like I've met so many of my friends, so much of my community that I have now is because of the people that I've met through my business, whether that's my employees who become my friends long-term, whether it be my customers who become friends long-term, or tea industry people who become my friends long-term. I honestly wouldn't have the diversity and range of friends that I have now if it wasn't for this business, just because I get to have like a rotating door of people that I get to like pick out, as my friend, and which I feel very, very fortunate for. I feel like I have a more of a deeper relationship or connection with the city as a result of being a business owner here and being able to engage in such a broad kind of spectrum of Seattle people, residents and tourists even, who come through as a result. I think my favorite stories with this business is like, it's not just the people that I get to meet, but that other people have met each other because of the context of Miro. And I love that. I love that somehow I get to be slightly responsible for that, because I think that's one of the greatest privileges being alive in this existence, is to be able to connect with other people and find other spirits that are like yours, or other spirits who can, give you a different perspective on things that enriches your own life, and I think it's just such a privilege. And so, so many of my employees have made lifelong friends with each other or with customers as a result of working here. So many, endless number of couples, people have met here as couples, whether
Before they were couples?
Employees who date each other, or or customers dating my employees, or or customers meeting each other here, and just way more than that is friends, right? Like it's like people meeting each other as friends. And
forget about the dating apps.
Forget about the dating.
Just come to the tea cafe.
No, actually, I agree. I say that all the time, actually, and I'm not even joking, because there's something about what I love about Miro is that it's a person who's going to, male, female, whoever, anybody who's going to come through and become a customer at Miro and show interest in our products, show interest in tea, and especially those who decide that this is the place that they're going to go to regularly, is a very specific type of person. And I'm not talking about like age, I'm not talking about race or gender or anything like that. It's just like mentally and kind of at their heart is a very specific type of person. So we've kind of filtered out, I feel like, naturally everybody else, that don't fit that, right? Yes. And so with this kind of like more filtered group of people, it naturally, people like feel kind of like understanding of each other. There's like a certain commonality.
Yeah, it's a different type of consciousness.
Yes, absolutely. It's a consciousness thing. Great. Yes, I love that. It's like a consciousness thing. It's not even a background thing. Like most people here don't share remotely close to like similar backgrounds or childhoods or origin story or anything like that, but yet they all share some form of like like spirit, and like consciousness, like you said, that I think like is really interesting to see.
I totally agree. I mean, I've been coming here for some time now, and the difference that you see coming to like a tea cafe and sharing tea versus when you are like drinking like a beer or like a wine in a bar, it's just totally different. Like you're connecting a person on a more deeper level. I mean, maybe you can say like even coffee shops can do that, but feels like those like coffee shops are more like segregated in a way, and ultimately, as you said, it comes down to the connection, right? Of course, you're running a tea business or cafe, but ultimately what you're doing is connecting people.
Yes, and that's my hope. Yes, that's my deepest hope.
That's how Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook. He wanted to connect people. Of course, the byproduct was like Facebook becoming super popular. But the ultimate thing is to kind of we all want to belong somewhere, right?
Yes.
And to give that platform is just is a life worth living,
Yeah, I hope so. It is for me, that's for sure. It's great that this business does well, and it's great that people enjoy it. But like the part that is priceless for me and that's most valuable for me is that fact that there is real connections that's happened, and it's happened over a long period of time, and we continue to do that over and over again. Yeah.
I think some time back you were telling me a story when you met a customer, and I think they kind of asked you to go on an ayahuasca trip.
Yes.
Let's talk about that trip and how was it? What was your experience coming out of it? Holistically, was it a good experience, bad experience, or would you do it again?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually brought up by a friend of mine who was sitting here as a customer, but I met that friend as a customer. Actually, no, I met that friend. So I met that friend, my friend Chris, through a tea industry person that I met, who is like works in the tea business, and then he introduced me to Chris, who was one of his friends, and then Chris has coming in as a customer, and I was chit-chatting with him, and he mentioned that he was going to go on this ayahuasca retreat, and I was immediately intrigued because previously, before that, I had gone to Peru and loved Peru, and had always thought that I would love to go back to Peru to try ayahuasca one day, as one does when they go to Peru. Like everybody wants to go there for that eventually, but the Shipibo tradition of ayahuasca for them is one that I was like very fascinated by. It's one of the original forms of like original tribes that practice plant medicine, and especially using ayahuasca for ceremony and then what's specific about them though was that they do what's called icaros, which is a singing. The shaman sings a song. And I felt somehow like drawn to that. I'm not a singing person, but I just somehow like
before even going to the trip?
Yeah, I already knew about it, and I was fascinated with it, and I was always really interested in the Shipibo, like when I was in Peru, like learning about it a little bit more.
Was it like enchanting, almost like chants?
Yes, it's kind of chanting. Yes, it is a chanting. And so my friend mentioned that he was going to one, and I invited myself to it. Basically, I had made him invite me, and then so he and I did it we did it together. We traveled there, not to Peru. It's somewhere slightly more local, and we ended up participating in this ayahuasca ceremony along with like 10 other people. It was kind of a large group. It was very intense. It was 3 days of ceremony that like every night, 9:00, you sit in a circle and you start ingesting ayahuasca. And then the shaman then sings to the whole group, and then eventually will sing to you individually. And yes, it was a very distinct experience that I had. And it was the experience that I needed at that time of my life.
Yeah.
I really felt like I needed something to kind of help expand in my mind in a way that I felt I was a little bit stuck in. Yeah.
You said expand your mind. Like, how did it help you expand your mind?
I think a lot of us, when we get into a certain place in our lives where we maybe be feeling like emotionally stuck or mentally stuck, where we're kind of like, we're feeling like lost in how we get out of this kind of certain place that we're in, right? Or we're not getting answers to questions that we may have. And I've always been somebody who, like, when I'm in those kinds of situations, that life just happens to present random, like, opportunities to me, you know? And I always took it as a sign that the universe is asking me to, like, hey, maybe this will help, right? And it's short of like, and luckily I've never been presented anything dangerous, you know, so I don't say yes to those. But like, it's always something that like, that I can say yes to, and I make myself say yes to them, because I think a lot of times we get stuck in this kind of like whirlpool of like either sadness or like despair, and we're confused about how to get out of it. And oftentimes when I receive those kinds of things, it's almost like a lifeline, being like, okay, this will pull you out of it. You know, I don't know where it's going to take you, but I'll pull you out of this, wherever this is, right? And so, so I took it as that. And I was like, this is something I've never done before. I've never done any kind of psychedelic anything up until then. And I tried it. I was like, sure, I'm going to do it, because I know it's not, like, I felt that it was a very controlled setting. I trusted the people that were going to be there. And so decided to give it a try. And the experience was like, the messages that I received in those 3 nights were, and the perspective that it gave me of my life and my situation, it was what I needed to kind of like nudge me out of the kind of the slump that I was in.
And let's talk deeper into that. Like, so you spent there 3 nights, and was like, if we go deeper into like, were you guys like high all the like 3 nights? And wasn't, because you know, you have always, I mean, I've never done it, but from the outside perspective, is it like the high that you get from like weed or any other type of like normal, or is it different than that? Like, how is it different? Like, how do you feel, like bodily or brain?
Well, you feel sick. I mean, I felt sick. Like I felt like you throw up. Everybody threw up. You do a lot of yawning. You do a lot of kind of like, so there's like this kind of expelling that happens from ayahuasca. And the idea is that your body is holding on to so much that toxins or whatever it is, emotions, anything that's like baggage that you're holding on to inside of you, it needs to be expelled. You know, it needs to be cleansed of that first. And so whether you want to or not, you're going to expel it. And so yawning is a form of like expelling. So everybody was yawning. There'll be people crying. There'll be people laughing. There'll be people just kind of like throwing up, right? Like this bucket next to you, you just very, quietly throw up. And people have to go run to the bathroom, stuff like that. And so you don't feel well when you're having to do all of that, right? It doesn't feel good. Yeah. But in between, you feel high. You definitely feel high. Like it's not like marijuana. Like I've only done pot like a couple of times, but like, I don't feel nearly the same. Like pot, I feel kind of like dumb, honestly. And I don't like, I'm not myself, and it's in a way that I don't like. And, but with ayahuasca, your vision changes, your mind changes, you start seeing things inside your mind.
Interesting.
You're sitting up, your eyes are closed or open, and then just, everything alters. And like, as the shaman is singing, what you end up finding out is that the singing creates resonance in the environment, and it interacts with your own hallucinations.
Interesting.
It's really weird. Like you have you start seeing fractals, right? And you start seeing
what is fractals?
Fractals, like right now I'm seeing GB, right? Yeah. But then if I was on ayahuasca right now, like GB would be like, there'll be like a veil over this where it's like prismatic and like, and it has like certain types of like patterns and shapes. Honestly, it was like really freaked me out was that it reminded me of the shapes of like, of religious like buildings. Not figures, but like, you know how like in Indian monasteries, like temples, there's like, or like in Cambodian, like temples, or like any kind of like ornate temples, there's like these like kind of like intricate drawings, that like, or like carvings on the walls and stuff like that are patterns, right? Like that's decorative, right? But like I was seeing that as a veil that was like wrapping around wherever I saw, like, wherever I looked, that was the kind of a sheer veil that was covering my entire vision, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was like weirded me out because I was thinking like maybe that's where people, you know, like the
Or the imagination.
yeah, that's where they got these patterns was from. They saw these same fractals, perhaps, you know. But the singing, what happens is that the singing, kind of like you could see the fractals kind of wave and shift and like change color based on the singing that you hear, like the vibrations of the singing, and that like was interesting. You know, that was really cool, and I felt like it maybe in a way brings forth certain types of like imagery and ultimately hallucinations and stuff like that people were having. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's why you need that guided
Yes.
you know, process, because
Yes.
otherwise you know, you can the whole trip can turn into like a nightmare.
Yes, and it did turn into a nightmare for a couple of people. Like the last night, there's one gentleman who was like starting to freak out. It was like screaming and yelling. And then like a lady next to me, I don't know if he was causing her to, or she just was also having her own breakdown, but she was having a really bad time.
Yeah, because like imagine like you are like, how many people were you? Like 5, 10 people?
Maybe like 13 people.
13 people. I mean, if one person is freaking out, is everybody freaking out?
Sometimes, yeah, but it was just those two. Yeah, but like, and it was starting to freak me out. I could tell.
Yeah.
It was starting to create dark imagery in my thoughts at the very last night. But then like I practice in meditation and
Sure.
like, and I sort of like started meditating and went more inward. And as I did that, like it was like a really beautiful experience. It actually taught me something very, very powerful lesson, which was that the ugliness that I was like feeling I was receiving from the outside through like that I actually had the means and the ability to shut it out. And my imagery, like the really dark imagery that was happening in my brain, it suddenly got blocked, and then all I saw was I was like inside like a beautiful crystalline like cathedral, and I was just like with like beautiful like angelic light beaming through, and I realized I was like, oh, this is all like I can manipulate this. You know, I am in complete control over my own mental, emotional, physical experience. You know, and it was actually a really powerful lesson.
Yeah, I mean that is power. I mean, because if you think about it, like that's very common for us to like, you know, because there are like two types of images that are happening right in our mind. One is image of ourselves, of like how we see, and then image of like how others think that they see us, and how we think that others see us.
Yes.
You know, so there are two things happening. One is actually the original image, and whatever you want to call it, but then there is another one which is wherein, like I was saying, how you are getting perceived by others.
Yes.
So are you clinging on to the second image or the original one? You know, that's what it comes down to. And in your case, you know, that was the thing, right? Wherein like, I mean, in everybody's case, we want to just be connected to that original self, which is you, and that doesn't get altered or affected by external presence.
Yes.
And I think that's what meditation is, right? Just being in control of oneself, as in being mindful and present, and
Yeah.
Okay, was that in your life so far, was that the most craziest experience, or is there any other top 3 or top 5 like crazier experience that you had?
I've had some crazy experiences. They weren't positive though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some scary experiences in my life. I would have to say is way crazier.
Yeah.
That was like that was crazy in the sense of like it was so unexpected for me that I would do that. Like I didn't know that I would want to do that at some point in my life. So I was surprised myself, I felt like, by participating in it and doing it.
Was there an example that you can give
Of what?
of the crazier experience apart from ayahuasca?
It gets depressing. You want to know about depressing stuff? I mean, I'm fine talking about it, but I don't know if you and your listeners want to hear it.
No, it's fine. Let's actually talk about one recent example or story that you were giving me about your night terrors, right? And what it turned into later. So let's talk about that if you are comfortable.
Okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable talking about that. Yeah, my dream, that's probably where I have the craziest experiences. My dreams are like very vivid and very powerful to me. And I used to have night terrors and very regularly. and since I was a child. And my night terrors consisted of me not being able to move while I was literally being screamed at by demons. Like I could see like dark, shadowy figures who were like very, very close to my face screaming at me and making me feel very threatened and scared. And so I would be paralyzed and unable to get out of it. So it's just like a couple of years ago, what happened was that I had this night terror, and I was just, for whatever reason, in this one, like I just heard this voice to just kind of like, just face it, right? And I don't know what compelled me to have that thought, but like I was like, okay, I'm gonna just face it, right? I'm just gonna.
But what was the experience that, like, what were you in it that you were saying like face it? So did you see an image or anything?
No, it was just like a voice. It was like a voice in my head, just face it, just lay there and then just take it on, you know. Don't wake up or anything. Just take it on. And so I just faced it, and it would scream, and I would just be still, and I tried to be calm. I finally didn't fight it for the first time ever. And as I was doing that, it suddenly all stopped and cleared. And then I hear another voice, and it goes, "Now you're ready." And then right from there, I get pulled out of my body, basically what it feels like I'm being pulled out of my body. And I could see myself getting I'm laying down, and I'm just flying through my ceiling is where I'm going. I'm flying through my ceiling up into the sky, into the atmosphere, faster than anything. And just like Superman, you know what I mean? Just boom, just flying through the air. And as I'm flying higher and higher and higher, I look behind me and I see this, I could see the earth going away from me, right? And I was like, where am I? What is this? Where am I going, right? And I'm flying up through the stars. And as I'm flying up higher, and I see there's a asteroid belt, kind of there's a bunch of
Cars,
asteroids, you know, like rocks in the I don't know, in the universe, wherever I am, there's a bunch of asteroids, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to hit hit one of these rocks, and because I'm going so fast. And as I get closer to the asteroids, I recognize that there's actually a space, like a tube, where the asteroid rocks happen to actually be formulating, and kind of congregating around this tube, but there's actually nothing there. And so I fly through that tube into the space, through the asteroid belt, and then I'm just flying through. And then as I'm flying through this belt, I then eventually land on what is another planet. I'm on another planet.
yeah.
And so I'm where am I? And I don't know how far I am, and I'm confused where I am and why I'm here. And as I'm looking around, I realize I'm actually facing in front of me is this huge, building sized, being is what it is. It's alive, but it's not a being a creature being. It's I don't know what it is. It's it's I can only draw it out because it's hard for me to describe. But what it is that my best to describe it is that it was in the shape of a cross, but not in a Christian cross where it's long, vertical, short, horizontal. It was perfectly square cross. And it was made from nothing touching, but it was made from multiple panels, where it was as it laid together, it was the shape of a cross, right? And the panels were very, very thin and metallic and reflective. And it moved kind of with arms, it was the cross, as it was it moved sideways, and it kind of flowed like this, you know, and as it turned sideways against you, you could see right through it. You actually couldn't perceive it anymore because the sheets was I don't know how many sheets deep it was, 4 or 5 sheets deep. You couldn't perceive it because it was so thin, right? It was invisible. But then when it faced you, it was suddenly visible because it was reflective, and you could kind of see it, you know. And I was like, what is this? And who are you? You know, why am I here? And me even just talking about it, I get very energetic about it because I could feel it. But it starts talking to me in this weird language, and I don't understand it. It's like very aggressively talking to me in this weird language, and I don't understand. I don't recognize it. It doesn't sound like any language I've heard before. I'm trying really, it clearly wants to make me understand, but I can't understand. And I'm just like, and I'm just like paying super, super close attention to like try to perceive any familiar words at all. And I can't. And it starts getting like frustrated with me. And I can't tell if it's frustrated with me because I don't understand what it's saying or because I'm not even supposed to be there. I don't know why it's mad. But then eventually stops talking. And then as soon as it stops talking, I then like get pulled backwards and fly up into the atmosphere, into the universe again, and basically rewind back, like go backwards to exactly the pathway that I went back in. And I land through the roof of my house and down into my body again. And then I wake up.
Wow, that's crazy. It's just like even that this can give like people like goosebumps, you know. It's like this experience is just bizarre. Yeah, it is definitely one of the crazier experiences.
It was. Yeah.
Do you think that of course, like the dreams are powerful, you know?
Yeah.
Like historically, so many people have used dreams for, going into their deeper imaginative self, or like just find solutions to things, you know? Do you think that we have not at all explored I don't want to say consciousness, but like the things that happen when we are dreaming? Maybe our consciousness is even just like traveling all over the world while we are, just sleeping in one place. I mean, if you think like you talk to people who are like meditating for like so long, they have these outer body experiences wherein, Osho.
Osho?
He's one of the very popular monks, and he was considered by Dalai Lama the mastered enlightened or the enlightened master.
Oh, really?
He was given the title enlightened master.
Wow.
But he had similar experiences when he was in the process of getting enlightened, is that he was on a tree and that he has fallen down, that he could see the body is down, but he is still at the tree. He's high up on the tree.
Yeah.
And so he's like way above, and he can just see the body, but he cannot do anything, but he is above it, like out of body.
Yes.
I completely echo you. You know, the fact that we have only certain percentage of our brain, maybe even like they say like Einstein have used like 10% of their brain, his brain. Like we have so much more to explore when it comes to just understanding our mind and brain. Do you think that somehow, with as you said that the next part of our evolution is just understanding the consciousness? Do you think that AI can help somehow just free us from our own like daily duties that we are doing and focus on these bigger tasks, like just understanding consciousness?
I think I love that question. I think that would be the best use of AI, like that would be my ideal in my brain, and that would also make the most sense for me. It's that we're not being as humans bogged down by the kind of the kind of the rudimentary tasks that we need to do as humans, like running supercomputers or something like that. Like we don't need, like, maybe our brains, because that's the most valuable and the most like quintessential thing that makes us human is actually this other experience. It's not the kind of the rudimentary detail work that ultimately a computer can do.
Right.
Maybe we're meant to access this other part. We could focus on that now finally.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I cannot wait till we get to a point where we, people call it like AGI or ASI.
No, it's that.
It's like artificial general intelligence, and then you have the artificial super intelligence.
Yeah.
So general intelligence is like, imagine like an AI can do all the general tasks that we can do as humans.
Yes.
And super intelligence is more towards like cater towards like automating your whole business in a way that you only have to spend like 5% of your time instead of 100%.
I would love that. I would love that as a human who I'm really grateful that I have the ability to like do practical things like running a business and stuff. But I think not just myself, I think we all sense that we're here with like a greater purpose and a greater like, experience that we have, like that we want to, we're hungry for.
Yeah.
And I still feel hungry for that.
Yeah.
I feel very distracted in my day to day, and because I don't get to access that part of me.
Yeah. It's such a good point. And if you think about it, purpose, like a lot of people say in the AI community that people will lose purpose.
Yeah.
Because AI is going to take all the jobs, right? AI is going to take the jobs that you want to do or you are doing. But that's the other way around. Like you said, right? Humans are designed for a higher purpose than the day-to-day tasks that you are doing, right? I mean, these tasks, most of the people don't even want to do.
Right.
So for those, it's easy. For the people who are like, for example, musicians who love what they're doing, but the AI is automating the music industry.
Yeah.
Even then, you can still do it because that's what you want to do, right? People will be doing the things that they want to do.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to be forcing them.
Yes.
The music will not become like a business oriented, but rather more towards the actual art.
Yeah.
You can still pursue the art. At the same time, you can have the purpose, like you said, by going deeper into yourself, like just the understanding of consciousness.
Totally.
And if you think about it, like we were saying, like how much percentage of ourselves have we explored?
Yeah.
Our whole goal in our life is to understand ourselves. And with these mundane things that we are going through, how much of it we have done in our lifetime? None.
Absolutely.
Right? So having the deeper purpose comes from like understanding and getting higher into this consciousness level. At the same time, going further, like in the planetary evolution, right? We have only explored Earth.
Yeah.
And at best, we have only we are just starting to explore like Mars.
Yes.
Some part of the moon, some sun, but that's it.
Right.
I mean, the world is the universe is like
It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah. I know. And I think I told you my theory about that, like about traveling through space kind of a thing. Like, I'm just like, my like weird, crazy idea is that like maybe we weren't meant to physically travel through space, because it's kind of the idea that our bodies are going to fly like hundreds of light years away from our planet, in order to get access another planet is kind of like impossible, right? At least with current technology. But maybe there's something that's already in our body that allows us to travel to these places without leaving
The body.
without leaving Earth, like
That's creepy, but possible.
Yeah, I was like, maybe that's what I did in my dream. It was like a demonstration of like, hey, see, you can fly through to like this whole other like side of the galaxy from whatever it was that got triggered. You know what I mean? Like that was like, I woke up out of that feeling that. I was like, whoa, like that probably wasn't real, but what if it can be real, Like that was really, I think that would be amazing.
That would be amazing, yeah. Coming back to reality though, like as in where we are, I would love to kind of talk deeper into that. I do want to ask you, because you have been playing with AI a lot, right, in your free time.
Yeah.
How is AI actually helping your business and the things that you're doing with your business? Because you're managing multiple businesses right now. And plus, how do you foresee it can help you?
Right now, AI, I've been playing around with it because, I went through the stages of like, I refused to use it, skepticism and stuff. And then I was like, I should probably get to know my potential enemy or something like that, right? And then like thinking that it was going to be a threat somehow to me or to humanity. And then as I got to use it, I was like, wait a minute, this is just another tool, that I already use, like my phone and my computer and such. And so I realized that it is a very reliable tool in a lot of ways when applied in the right circumstances. And so I've been using it primarily to, for rudimentary stuff, obviously, like help me, like to help me double check my writing and such like that, right? Or like help me if sometimes I get like writer's block or I get like stuck in like a really basic task, and I hate how that happens. And so I found AI provides me the initial kind of like maybe ideation or like kind of like whatever that could be, whether maybe it's an email that I don't want to write and I'm like just sitting on it, and I'm wasting a lot of time procrastinating, and And so then I'll just like have AI like help me kind of initially like, at least draft it so at least kind of gets the kind of juices going for me.
Sure.
So obviously I use it for that. But more recently, like with this, the Chat GPT 5 that came out, I was just playing around with it a couple of days ago. I started to see more and more how it can integrate into my kind of like everything that I do.
Yeah, give an example.
Well, like so for example, like social media planning and my calendar, my how it plans out my weekly work calendar based on like my emails that they receive, based on kind of like my own personal projects that it knows that I have because I've talked about it, through my AI. It knows kind of like the things that I could be focusing on and how I can like spend my time. And it also suggests what they can do for me, right? Like while I'm doing this, it'll tell me like what I need to give. It instructs me what to give it so that it can give me the thing, to help me with my next task. Yeah. Stuff like that. And I thought, I was like, it really wants to be a helper.
A good personal assistant.
A very good personal assistant. Yeah. So I was like really impressed, and I haven't like fully gone into it yet as far as like, okay, I'm going to start following its draft proposal or like, schedule proposal. But but I thought it seemed very reasonable and very much understood what I was working with, in my day to day.
Do you think that when robotics become like mainstream, you're going to employ like robots in your cafe and like allow it to like automate some of the processes? Like, because you have like so many different processes, right? And so you want to be consistent in those processes. And
I mean, there are processes that are robotics that I can technically implement now that I choose not to. Like, for example, like I can choose to implement a like self checkout system or something like that, right? Which I choose not to do.
Why is that?
Because I want a human to greet my customers, right? I want a human to help select the teas. I want a human to give the smile, and I feel the more that there is going to be automation, the more valuable and precious having real human employees are going to be. Yeah. I mean, there may become one day where humans don't even want to be doing this job. And so maybe I don't have a choice at that point, but as long as I have people who want to like work for me and want to do this job, then like I will have humans.
You would definitely want to hire back, even when you have robotics become mainstream, you would want to hire people who are like, humans, so that they can run the job.
I mean, let's be real, like with tea, it's like 150 different types of tea. It's going to be a while before I don't know, maybe it'll be really soon to give recommendations, because there's a lot of nuance in how you make product recommendations. It's not just a matter of like factoids. It's understanding who that person is, getting a sense of that person is, like, like where are they, and then like you kind of have to be able to read between the lines, such like that.
Yeah, I think, what I'm learning from you is like there are two different scenarios here. When robotics and AI become very mainstream, that a lot of businesses will be employing it, then there's going to be a choice whether you want to just like save money by employing these robots, because they're going to be cheap, I mean, AI, is like $20 a month. I mean, GPT-5, whatever you want to call it, like it's just you will have choice of like just choosing, to save money as a business owner versus choosing to give the human connect.
Yes. Yeah.
And you are not motivated more with the money and then more towards like giving that connection, because ultimately people will be coming to buy teas and cafes and want to be sitting down, right? Even if they have AI. So what you are saying to me is like you're going to choose the connection more than anything.
I just find that what we're going to be seeing is that human connection and interaction and having employees that have the ability to communicate and be friendly and welcoming is going to be a greater and greater like luxury to have.
What do you think if AI is more friendlier than the employee?
I think the authenticity of a human interaction is still going to be more valuable, even if it's like less positive. Let's even say there's going to be. I just believe that when two humans interact, no matter inconsequentially, even like, as in like, oh, how are you today? What can I get for you? Even that. There's some kind of an exchange of energy that happens that we may not be conscious of, but our bodies is conscious of it, and I just don't believe that we get the same kind of feedback and same kind of like, I don't know, energetic kind of igniting of something within us.
Energy exchange.
Yeah, that from just doing that through a robot or through a mechanical thing, maybe one day they can create something that can mimic that so well that it doesn't matter. But like I think, I'm not going to be alive when that happens.
No, I mean, yeah. No, I am totally on board with that, the philosophy, because, and if you think about it, AI is right now automating all the mundane, boring, dangerous tasks.
Yeah.
They say that emotional intelligence will be so much prominent as you go further into like AI development.
Yeah.
That you would need like jobs like customer service, and these jobs will be automated the last, because you would need the human connection more and more there.
Yeah.
Because people will be interacting with the AI. Like think of like how much interaction we're doing with our devices, with our phones, with our laptops, with our smartwatches. We're doing so much of interaction, and there are so many times you might have felt like, oh man, I just wanna close this laptop, just do a hike, or just go somewhere in nature, or just talk to people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's going to become more and more. So you would need more experiences.
Yes.
So
I agree. I think the concept of like preference of like for real versus fake is always going to be a part of like human preference, like diamonds, let's just say they've invented like man-made diamonds for a long time now, but natural mined diamonds are still technically more expensive, there's like a lot of things where people like still prefer real versus fake, even if it's like almost identical, like just because of the idea of it being real, they were willing to pay more for real, and I just don't see that going away just because AI is here. I think it's just now you have this like real human versus fake human, like that will also, like I'm very conscious of like, like I said, I use AI to write, like email sometimes, right? But like I'm very conscientious of like not letting AI write my email, because I don't ever want somebody to feel like I wrote them a fake email. I wrote them. I still want it to sound like a human, coming from me. So I like AI, like correct my grammar and stuff like that, and stuff like. But ultimately, I think people will become more and more sensitive and perceptive of like what's fake and what's real. What's human, what's not human.
Yeah. So, Jeannie, I want to change the topic here. And one thing over the years I've admired about you is you're not only a really good serial entrepreneur, but you're also really good like perfectionist. In whatever you do, you have quality. All the things that you do, I see, just looking around just Miro and just interaction with you, you always prefer quality, and whatever you do, how can you beautify it? How can you make it like, top notch? And you have had so many different businesses. If you were to kind of connect the dots between your life so far, what would you want your kids or your employees or people who be known for? Like, what would you be known for? Like, of course, like 50 years later, what would Jeannie be known for? Like, how would you want people to know you?
I want people to see me as being like the most authentic, like the most honest person that they've ever like encountered, like where I always speak kind of from the heart. And so everything that I do is presented from that angle. And so that they have ultimate trust in what comes from me, whether it be my words or whether it be from the products that I serve or I give, or whatever I give or share or anything like that, to know that that's where it comes from. Where that comes from for me personally, I don't know. I think it just, I come from a very direct family. Everybody speaks very directly with each other and very honestly with each other. But then also, I think like a lot of families, they don't speak what is really at the root of like their desires or their issues and stuff like that. They speak around it, which causes friction and animosity and such. And I was always very perceptive of that, and it really bothered by that. And so for me myself, I always chose the route of, even though it's more uncomfortable
Yeah.
and sometimes less convenient, but to have those more uncomfortable conversations, just to like, because the bond that you have with the person after the fact is going to be more real, right?
How do you have uncomfortable conversations with people?
I always approach it from the best intentions, right? Like if I think worst case scenario, this person's going to not receive it well and they're not going to like me anymore, right? But then best case scenario, they may finally understand what the issue is at heart, and then it will benefit both of us. It was a mutual win situation. And then I lean into that. I go do that. But I always speak to people with like a compassionate perspective, right? Like because I understand there's always two sides to every situation. So I always, when I talk about anything with somebody, I always make sure that I acknowledge that why they are in the position that they are, or why they had to do, or what they did, whatever, right? So they understand that there is not this kind of like, it's not an attack, right? Sure. It's more of like, can we find a middle ground, right? Can we find a middle perspective on this, or compromise on this, right? Or a mutual understanding on this, right? Is the latest, I think, thing that two people can do, Yeah.
And I did touch briefly on it. Like I was saying that, whatever you showcase, there is some quality to it, almost like an iPhone style, or,
really?
like an Apple style. But like, if you think of like all the cups that are designed here and the products that you sell, or like just the packaging that you do, I want to ask, like, for the people who want to have that, the top-notch quality, like how do they develop the taste, because everybody have their own style of doing things. I don't want them to change that, but like, how do you develop that superior taste that allows you to
Well, for me, I'm very critical but not judgmental. Does that make sense? Like there's a difference between that. I personally am just somebody who, there are just certain people who as a personality, they love beauty.
Sure.
When I am surrounded by beautiful things, or when I touch something that's I perceive as beautiful, or well made and thought was put into it, I relax. Like my blood pressure goes down, my tension goes down, because I feel like there's nothing like weird in my, like I'm perceiving nothing weird. So therefore like my brain relaxes and I feel good, you know? So that's just how I operate, like other people they don't operate like that. And so therefore they don't need to be concerned about that, I guess. But like, that's just how I've always been. Like I'll look at something and go, it's like a little kind of like a weird scratch in my head and go like, what's weird about that? What could be better, And then I want to, and if it's under my control, then I will make it better, because it's to appease my own kind of like friction that I'm feeling within myself, right? And so first you have to be perceptive of your own sense of like that friction, because I think a lot of people, let's say they love beautiful things, but they don't know how to like develop that aesthetic, right? Is that maybe they're not just in touch with like their own personal like voice that's telling them, hey, like this feels awkward, like that could be better, and then listening to it without self-judgment, right? Because sometimes we numb it or we quiet that voice because we don't want to be hard on ourselves, or we think that that's bad, right? I don't view it as that way, like I'm critical of myself all the time, but without judgment. Like I don't think somehow that criticism is attached to like my character or the other person's character or anything like that.